Oh, well, hello. Sorry, I didn't see you there. To be honest, I didn't expect you to come back after the rather dismal amount of attention the last video generated. I didn't expect to see anyone. If it was an electrifying experience, it would have barely sent a shock through the carpet. But you're here, so we might as well get into it. Last week I talked about the history of the gentlemen and where they had been, why they had become. Now let's move into the instructions. The first rule is to be polite. That is the absolute first base everything. This is the foundation upon which your fortress of gentlemanry and chivalry shall be built. If you have to be polite. So what is polite? Well, it's not going to some random stranger on the street and going, "Why, you tool! I cannot believe you! Look at you! Look at the size of those feet! What are you, bug clown? What up, man?" That is not being polite. That is being quite rude, which is the opposite of polite, and thus not what we're going for. So, to be polite is to treat others with respect, to have manners, to honor the other individual or individuals in the area. If you go up to a man on the street and say he does have big feet, the polite thing to do would be to not mention them. Unless they are very obviously diseased, in which case you recommend a doctor. That is the polite thing to do. If he should decide that this was offensive, then again, the polite thing to do would be to apologize. So that is being polite. That is what it is. It is that respect, that acknowledgement that you are there, you are a human, you are not some base animal, you're not some dog that one can kick to the curb with relatively little conscience. I mean, in this day and age, with PETA and all, we do have to contend with ethical treatment of animals. Anyways, that is another subject for another time. So, that is what being polite is. Why should we even bother? Well, duh, you're being a gentleman. If you are a gentleman, you are polite. I said it before, I'll say it again. This is the foundation of what you are trying to build. If you are polite, then you have a chance of making that which is hostile into benevolent. So, take, again, the same man, the one with big feet. Say he is going down the road and he's well aware that his feet are big. And it makes him feel cheap. When you go up to him and you look at his face, not his feet, you look at his face, look in the eye, you recognize that he is a human, he is a living soul, and thus you elevate him. He feels some dignity, some self-worth, and thus immediately becomes much more agreeable. And if you're trying to get something from the man, say directions, he will be more likely to oblige because you were polite. That is why we are polite, because it just makes things work so much better without using brute force and possibly making an enemy for life. Take this here hedgehog. He is not polite. Every time I pick him up, well, nearly every time, he bites me on the hand, tries to get away, curls up into a ball, and generally makes a fuss. As you can see. The polite thing for me to do is to not throw him on the floor when he does it. That would be horribly rude. I mean, imagine some being several order of times larger than you are, just picking you up, and when you struggle against an unfamiliar and scary situation, he punishes you for it by hurtling you several stories to the ground. That would be highly counterproductive. So that is why we are polite, because it's more productive. How can we be polite? Well, like I said, look a man in the eye when you pass him on the street. When you are entering a building and there's someone right behind you, hold the door. Better yet, hold the door while standing aside so that they enter the building before you. That is good etiquette. Not only are you saying you deserve having the door held for you, but you deserve to enter this building before I do. There's an almost animal instinct ingrained in our psyches that tells us the order in which someone enters a building, or walks down the street, or really in any procession. The order determines your importance. The person at the front is always the most important. The person at the back, well, he's the loser. He's the one carrying all the bags and making sure that, well, all the grunt work gets done. If the person second from the back, or even at the front, should hold the door until all are in, immediately the person in the back has been elevated. That is being polite. If someone is in a conversation, always let them finish. This is another good tip. I cannot tell you how many headaches this has saved me, personally. You always let them finish. You know how your mother always told you, don't you ever interrupt somebody? And then you immediately interrupt her halfway through her explanation. That is really not productive at all. And I mean, we have all done it. We are all children. And all children, well, they start stupid. Everyone starts at ground zero and you gotta build them up. So remember back to your early teachings. Remember your manners. Remember to hold the door. Remember to keep your feet on the floor. Remember to... what's another good example? Leave the room before farting. That is a good one. Especially if the ladies are around. But again, that is for another episode. We shall not deal with the ladies here. No way. That requires far too much attention. And really, we're just covering the basics. So be polite. And turn other people from a prickly ball into an amiable friend. Until next time, send your questions to threecornerhatproductions@gmail.com. Feel free to leave a comment. It would help steer these episodes further.